Well, it is my first time at the Dubrovnik Economic Conference. I think it's excellent, both the location and also in terms of the program. What I find interesting is that you have a good mix of academic papers, but then also we have a few policy panel discussions. So I think there's a good mixture between the academic side and the sort of more practical policy implementation. First of all, it is a challenging time, of course, for the central banks now, given the very high inflation that we have in Europe and also, well, really globally, but also the difficult economic outlook, given the war in Ukraine and the implications of that on economic growth. So the panel I'm participating in, that indeed is about the risks of stagflation. It's not really the sort of the most likely scenario, I think, in my view, that we would have stagflation, which means high inflation and then stagnating or very low growth for a long period of time. But of course, it's still something that is on many people's minds and that is worth discussing. So just as other topics on the program, I think it's again very topical. Well, I think the most likely scenario is that we will still have relatively high inflation. Well, certainly there is very high inflation in Europe in most places this year. Probably it will be uncomfortably high still in the next year. Hopefully coming significantly lower after that. But in terms of growth, I think we still can expect to have some positive economic growth in the euro area, at least. That's what I'm focusing on most. But I also recognize that the risk of stagflation is something that is on people's mind and that we need to discuss. Well, in Estonia, we have the problem now that the inflation is even significantly higher than it's the average in other European countries. In fact, we have had the highest inflation in the euro area now for 3 months in a row, at around 20%, which really is something that no one would have thought is possible just a few quarters ago. But in terms of economic outlook, I think it's similar, that we had, similar to other countries, that we expect the growth to slow down this year. In terms of the Russian aggression in Ukraine and the impact of the war, then we don't have that much direct trade really with Russia anymore. It used to be different some 10-20 years ago. But of course the impact is there. Particularly companies that need some raw materials from Russia in some specific industries are perhaps more affected. But of course there might also be some sort of confidence impact on investors considering investing in Estonia, or also Estonian entrepreneurs thinking about their expansion plans in this very uncertain environment, in which also the high inflation and the problems with supply chains definitely play a role. So it's not only the question of the war.